Your host Rob, and this video we are going to continue the March to the King series, counting down 28 weeks leading up to the release of the 2014 movie. This week we're going to be doing Godzilla versus Gigan. Okay, guys, welcome back. So this has been a very fun series for me to do. It's amazing. Back on the ODT, I started this series, and it's continuing. And we've gotten quite a number of movies out of the way. I mean, we're already up to Godzilla versus Gigan. It's been very fun. Now, this movie right here, I like this movie a lot because it introduces a new monster at this point in the series. This is the first time Gigan was shown. If I have one complaint about this movie is the excessive use of stock footage. That's, I think, what takes away from this movie. I don't mind the story so much. It's alien related. I like aliens, even if it's a little cheesy, but it's cheesy goodness, which you guys have heard me use that line before. Basically, cheesy goodness means something that can be corny but cool at the same time. The cockroach thing was pretty grotesque, but there's nothing wrong with that. And seeing Gigan, the new monster, I remember when I saw him as a kid, I was fascinated. The design for this suit is so nice. It's almost like a metallic bird, and he's got he just looks like a mesh of so many different types of animals. Like he's got like the fish fins on the back, and he's got the bird beak. He's got hooks like like an insect or maybe like a praying mantis almost. And he's got that. And then he's got the mechanical aspect of him. He's got the saw down the middle of his chest. He can shoot laser beams from his eye. He doesn't use that very often, but he does have it. And I think the funny thing about this movie is, you got Anguirus, who you really rarely see fight. I mean, we've seen him fight Mechagodzilla when Mechagodzilla was disguised as Godzilla. He got his butt whipped. We saw him in Destroy All Monsters take part in the gangbang on Ghidorah. Actually has a kind of nice ring to it. Gangbang on Ghidorah. And we saw him, who else? He fought Godzilla in Godzilla Raids again. But, and then he fought Godzilla again in Final Wars. I mean, he's had his share of fights, but this was the first time you really saw him involved in a very, very long fight. And I gotta say, what a horrible choice for Godzilla to go to war with. I mean, Godzilla, for the most part in this movie, took on these two monsters by himself, that being Gigan, of course, and King Ghidorah. And there was one scene where Anguirus went up to Godzilla, and it's almost like he was complaining or asking for help. Meanwhile, Godzilla's trying to fight Ghidorah, and then it was just, poor Godzilla had a lot to deal with. He bled for the first time. He really got his ass handed to him in this movie. I mean, he got cut on the shoulder. He got cut open on the face. He got a laser beam to the face. He was just getting torn up. I mean, and Anguirus was not a big help. But still, it was kind of cool to see that because that's something you didn't see very often in Godzilla movies, was him having his ass handed to him. Now, the other complaint about this movie was Ghidorah was like, they must have been flip-flopping between different designs of Ghidorah, because there was one where he had the red eyes, one where he kind of looked weird, and then they had all the stock footage in between all that, which sucks because one minute you see Godzilla and he's looking like it almost looks like he has four different suits in this movie because there's so much stock footage being used. And then the same thing with Ghidorah. You see scenes with from Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, from Monster Zero, and it just really takes away from what I think could have been a great Godzilla movie, because Gigan's design and his fighting technique was so off the chain. I mean, the way he was just cutting up, he was basically kicking the shit out of both of them. One minute he beat the hell out of Godzilla, next minute he go around and beat the hell out of Anguirus. I mean, it was very badass. And in my opinion, realistically, the team of Ghidorah and Gigan, I think, should have beat Godzilla and Anguirus. I know people are going to go nuts because everybody thinks Godzilla's, indestructible. But, on a bad day, Godzilla can be beat. So, but, Godzilla at this point in the series is the hero. He's not going to lose. The kids love him, and he's always going out there and protecting Earth. And so he's not going to lose this one. But if you look at the power of Gigan in this movie, the lack of power from Anguirus, and you throw Ghidorah into the mix, they should have lost. Let's be real. But, I'm not disappointed that they won. Of course, I'm very happy they won. I'm just trying to be as, give my honest opinion. Now, in terms of the story, obviously these stories get a little cheesy, a little questionable. This one wasn't too bad. I mean, yes, the whole cockroach thing was kind of like, but at the same time, it was pretty cool. They obviously used the whole cockroach thing because they were talking about constant peace on Earth and how they can endure many changes and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, the fight scene with the four monsters was great. It was a lot of fun. The stock footage really took away from a lot of that momentum it would have. You'd get this good fighting, and the next thing you know, you see footage of a movie you've seen before, and that kind of takes away from the build up, in my opinion. But look, it was a great introduction to a very I think popular monster. Obviously Ghidorah is always my number one favorite villain, but I've always enjoyed watching Gigan. I've always enjoyed his design. His design in the Final War series was great as well, but we'll get into that down the road. But Godzilla vs. Gigan, it was a great introduction for a new monster, a great fight. Another thing I noticed about this movie too is that these monsters show up and begin to fight a little bit earlier on than most movies, which was great as well. And eventually Godzilla begins to pick himself back up. He makes a comeback. Anguirus proves himself to be somewhat effective in trying to handle Ghidorah, but for the most part, Anguirus was really useless. He had a very few shining moments. Godzilla pretty much took care of these monsters on his own with some minor assistance from Anguirus. But Anguirus is still a cool monster. I still kind of like his roar and his look. And it was fun to see him in a movie sustained for a long period of time and actually involved in a significant fight in a double team. I think that was a lot of fun to watch. It's a very fun movie. But again, the stock footage takes away from it. The constant change in costume designs kind of sucks. And if you watch the American version, there is a scene where there's a couple of scenes actually where Godzilla and Anguirus actually talk to each other. I mean, but I watch it in Japanese, so they don't. You hear the noise when they're supposed to be talking to each other in the Japanese one, but you don't actually hear the words. But in the American one, you do. But look, Godzilla vs. Gigan, I think was a classic. It was the highlight of this film was Gigan himself. The fight scenes were phenomenal. We get a little bit of violence, something we hadn't seen before this iteration. And again, another classic Godzilla movie. Very different monster design. Shows the talent and how how the producers and directors and designers of these films just really had such a great imagination. So I very much like Godzilla vs. Gigan. Again, stock footage kind of stinks. I think it takes away from the movie. I would have liked to have seen more freshness, but overall, I enjoyed it. I have it on DVD. It's one of my favorites, and I want to hear what you guys think about it. Godzilla vs. Gigan. Like it, hate it. Let me know. Comment below. I'll see you guys next week. We're going to be doing Godzilla vs. Megalon. Take it easy. Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. I'm your host Rob, and this video we are going to continue the March to the King series, counting down 28 weeks leading up to the release of the 2014 movie. This week we're going to be doing Godzilla vs. Gigan. Okay guys, welcome back. So this has been a very fun series for me to do. It's amazing. Back on the ODT, I started this series, and it's continuing. And we've gotten quite a number of movies out of the way. I mean, we're already up to Godzilla vs. Gigan. It's been very fun. Now, this movie right here, I like this movie a lot because it introduces a new monster at this point in the series.